Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about tips for the breastfeeding mom and how I managed to save over 200 bags of breast milk in my freezer. Just as a disclaimer, I am nowhere near a medical professional or a lactation consultant. These are just things that have worked for me in breastfeeding my child. For those of you who don't know, I have two little boys, a almost 2-year-old and a 4-month-old, and my almost 2-year-old I only managed to breastfeed for about 6 weeks, and even then it wasn't exclusively. I was supplementing because of a lot of reasons, but I was mostly scared and uncomfortable to breastfeed, and it was just confusing. I was a new mom, so I gave it up really quickly, just because mentally it wasn't good for me to keep breastfeeding him or keep trying to breastfeed him. So with my second baby, I decided that I was going to be more determined to breastfeed him because I really wanted to. And for any of you who have struggled with breastfeeding, you know it just kind of feels really sucky when you can't breastfeed your baby like you want to, and you have to give it up before your ideal date to give it up. This is what worked for me the second time around in really staying to just exclusively breastfeeding my baby. First thing I did was research tips and ways of how to be comfortable breastfeeding. There's actually two moms that their videos helped me a lot in tips on how to breastfeed. One is Natalie Bennett and the second one is Lexis Fitzgerald, and I will link their channels down below. But one of the first things is to always drink lots and lots of water. I made sure we had a stockpile of water before my second baby was born, and I would make sure to drink like at least 4 bottles a day, but I would try to drink like anywhere from like 6 to 8 bottles a day. Now that might be excessive, but I'm a really big water drinker to begin with, so it's not like that big of a difference for me to add like another bottle or so. The second is to have snacks, and specifically, I know a wives' tale is to have oatmeal. So I hate oatmeal, so I don't have them anymore because I kind of didn't need them anymore, but I got Cliff Bars, and they have lots of oats and protein in them, so I would always make sure to have like one Cliff Bar a day until I really established my milk supply, and then I kind of got out of eating them. And it's also, any of you know, with a newborn, it's just kind of hard to make a meal for yourself all the time, so it was just a really nice, easy, quick snack to eat that was full of good stuff for my breast milk. The third thing is make yourself as comfortable as possible, and for me, I bought everything I could think of for breastfeeding because I wanted to make sure I had no excuses not to breastfeed, because with my first baby I would like make excuses why I shouldn't be breastfeeding, like, oh, I'm in public and I'm uncomfortable, or family is around and I shouldn't want to leave a conversation and go feed, or just like any reason I could think of almost to get out of it, I would. So make yourself as comfortable as possible and put yourself in places that like you have to breastfeed. So with my second baby, when we go out in public, I wouldn't bring a bottle or I wouldn't bring formula because then I had to breastfeed him. And that really helped me a lot because it got me over my fear of breastfeeding in public or just anywhere because he had to eat. With my first baby, I leaned on formula a lot, and that's like the number one thing lactation consultants have told me, that do not have formula around unless you are medically told so. Like if your pediatrician tells you like you need to be supplementing with formula, obviously do it. But for me, it was not medically necessary for him to have formula around. So with my second baby, I did not keep formula around or bring it with, because then I had to breastfeed him. So that helped a ton. And in doing so, I'm not one to breastfeed in public openly or uncovered. So, and that's just my personal preference. I think moms can breastfeed all they want or uncovered. You know, it doesn't matter. But for my personal preference, I like to be covered, and my babies don't mind it. So it works really well for us. So if that's the case, get yourself a really good breastfeeding cover. This is one that doubles as a car seat cover, which I really like because it has a more narrow neck. I got one of the ones that are like a scarf, and the neck was so big that it would just like fall off anyways. So this is my favorite one. It's by a company called Car Seat Canopy. Now I got this secondhand, so I don't really know where to get it from, but that's the company it's by. The next thing I would recommend is a pumping bra. Now, I love this. My husband got it for me for Christmas before our second son was born, and I didn't have it with my first baby, and that kind of made me lazy because I didn't want to sit there holding a pump and just kind of just sitting there. Whereas with my pumping bra, I can, work on my computer, work on some stuff, or it's just more comfortable. Like, it was more easy to take my mind off of pumping. So I highly recommend a pumping bra. And along with that is getting yourself a good pump. This is the Medela Freestyle pump, which is, I actually got it free through my insurance. Definitely look into that. I don't know if it's the same across all 50 states, but I would ask your doctor if that's something that you can do, because that helped a lot, because breast pumps are really, really expensive. Next thing, get yourself some good breast milk storage bags. Now these are the Lancino ones, and I highly recommend these ones because when you fill it, you can lay it flat and it freezes flat, and it's a lot easier to store a good amount of bags with the Lancino bag. The next thing I recommend is actually I got from Lex Fitzgerald, is a hand pump. And with my first baby, I was like, that's ridiculous. Why would I use a manual pump if I can use an electric pump? Well, with an electric pump, there's a lot of parts. There's a lot of washing, a lot of sterilizing. There's just a lot that goes into an electric pump. It takes me 5 minutes to prep everything that I need to sit down and pump with an electric pump. Now that my son and I have a little more better established eating schedule, it's not so bad. Like, I know when I'm going to use the electric pump and when he's going to feed, or when I need to use my hand pump. But first baby, that was a reason why I would talk myself out of pumping, is because I'd be like, that's a lot of parts and they're not clean, and like, it's just easier if I just give them a bottle. So the hand pump, I decided to give it a try this time around, and it was a game changer for me. Let me tell you again, it was a game changer, because with having already a toddler in the house, and I was in classes at the time, so I'd sit at the computer, feed him, and then when he was done, I would use the hand pump to pump the other side. But I could sit there and work on the computer, or if my son needed me, I could get up, take it with me, like pump while I'm doing whatever I need to. It was just really easy, and plus there's like really not that many parts. You take this off, and this is really all you have left to wash, and then once a week I'd take the whole thing apart and sterilize the whole thing instead of just like quickly washing it out. But I highly recommend the hand pump for the first couple weeks of feeding, because with that I ended up saving like 2 5-ounce bags a day using the hand pump. Now this is a big talked item nowadays. I'm sure every mom has heard of this, and this is the Haka silicone manual breast pump. This was also, I would use this along with the manual pump, and I would manual pump on one side if he wasn't eating, and then I would put this on the other side to catch the letdown. And this was another thing that really changed things for me breastfeeding, because it would save all the letdown instead of it going into a pad or just leaking everywhere. So I loved this. And then I would usually end up with like an extra ounce or two to put into my bottle that I had manually pumped, and it was just, I ended up saving a lot of milk with these two things. So the last little thing, and it's not really like a tip, more just what I was told by my pediatrician, is if you're breastfeeding, make sure you get vitamin D drops for your baby, because I guess breast milk is not very rich in vitamin D. Even like if you're taking a vitamin D supplement, it's just give them a little extra. But other than that, I think the two biggest things I was told by a lactation consultant that really helped me to breastfeed and save a really big milk supply is, one, do not keep formula around unless instructed by your pediatrician to have formula around. Because if you have formula around, and I know I did this, I ended up using it as a crutch, and then my supply would go down, and then I was really frustrated because my supply went down, and it was just a frustrating time. And then the second one is, they can't use you as a pacifier. You are always making milk. So I would let him latch whenever he wanted, however often he wanted. That way, on days he wasn't as like cluster feeding or anything like that, I was able to pump and have like a good amount of milk afterwards. So those are my tips in breastfeeding. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a lactation consultant of any sort. These are just things that really helped me in breastfeeding my baby the second time around. He just turned 4 months, and he is still exclusively breastfed, and I have a stockpile of milk of over 200 5-ounce bags of milk that I plan on continuing to build. Just give yourself a break. Breastfeeding is really hard. It takes a lot of perseverance and a lot of discipline to do, and it's really, really, really rewarding if that's what you're going for. Now, there's nothing wrong with a non-breastfed baby. Fed is best. My first baby was formula fed for pretty much his entire life. Even breastfeeding, like I said, I ended up using formula here and there because I thought that he wasn't getting enough. That's another tip that a lactation consultant told me, is actually my pediatrician told me, as long as they have wet and poopy diapers, they're getting enough. So if they start having dry diapers or not pooping very much, then that's when you need to call your pediatrician and ask them if they are getting enough of what they need. So those are my tips for breastfeeding, and I hope they help some of you get through your breastfeeding journey and what you need to do to breastfeed your baby and reach the goals that you want to for breastfeeding. That is my video for today, and I will see you guys next time.